everybody. So, where will Paul George go in free agency? Will he shake up the whole free agency plan? Plan? Will he shake up the whole free agency? I'm going to say he will because I'm going to say three teams that I think he's going a couple of teams that I think he's going to go to from the East Conference that I think he's going to go to. I think Paul George will probably go to. I basically don't see Paul George resign. I can see him probably resigning with the Clippers, but would you? Kawhi played 40 games this season. Kawhi played 40 or 60 games this season for the Clippers with Paul George. So, and Kawhi likes to sit out. So I think what Paul George wants is to win a championship and add that to his career. I think he wants to win a championship. And when I look at certain teams that possibly would like Paul George, because I'm not counting out, I'm not saying Kawhi isn't a good player. He plays some, he plays, he plays games. He shows up and plays in the game, but he sits out some games. And I feel like to carry the low to carry for him to not carry the team that much because he carried. I think this season Paul George carried the Clippers all the way. Like you can say, no, what about Kawhi? Kawhi did play a lot of a lot of the games. He played like 40 games this year. But Paul George played more than Kawhi, and I do think it's time for a change. In my opinion, it's time. I do see Paul George probably shaking up the free agency somehow because this free agency class, you got James Harden, you got Russell Westbrook, you got Klay Thompson, and you got Chris Paul possibly in this free agency class. So I can see Paul George going to that. I can see either Paul George re-signing with the Clippers. That's the only team I can see him re-signing with. If he re-signs with the Clippers, you still got Kawhi, and the Clippers got their new stadium. The Clippers got their own stadium now. So if Paul George signs back there, he gets to play in the new Clippers arena with Kawhi. But I do see Paul George shaking it up a little bit. I do see him. I kind of see Paul George going back to the East Conference. The three teams that I can see him going to in the East is the 76ers, the Bucks probably, and Miami, and probably one more, Boston. I can see probably Boston in that mix coming in that mix for Paul George because of the way Paul George um is the way probably Paul George wants to go play with Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. But I can see in the West, I can either see him re-signing with the Clippers, like I said. I can see Paul George doing something like that, but I think the best fit for Paul George, the best fit for Paul George is the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, it's the 76ers because you have Embiid, you have Terrence Maxey over there, and you have Embiid. I think Embiid wants a championship, and I think if you add Paul George to the 76ers, they're probably easy. Like, I'm not going to leave out my Cavs or Boston or Miami or Milwaukee or um, the Sixers. I'm going to say the Sixers are honestly a contender team, and possibly if you add somebody like Paul George, you could make the NBA Finals. So I would say the best fit for Paul George is the um, 76ers. In other news, Chris Paul is interested in Chris Paul is interested in playing. Chris Paul is interested in going to probably is interested in San Antonio. Now, do I see Chris Paul signing there after playing a year with the Golden State Warriors? Probably because you have Wembanyama, you have the rookie of the year, you have the rookie of the year in San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama. You have Victor over there in San Antonio. I can see probably Paul George going there. I can see probably if Chris Paul goes there, I can see him taking Victor by the wing and helping him learn how to win more games and how to become a better player. Because Chris Paul is a point guard, and I can see him doing that. I can see him being that vet to be being that vet to um I can see Chris Paul being that vet to Victor Benrana. But we will just have to see. That's my take